Carbohydrates have long been cast as the villains of modern nutrition, blamed for weight gain, blood sugar spikes, and the global rise in obesity and diabetes. The rise of low-carb diets, from Atkins to keto, has only intensified this perception, encouraging millions to avoid bread, pasta, rice, and even fruit. But this widespread demonization of carbohydrates oversimplifies a much more complex reality. Not all carbs are created equal, and lumping them together under one negative label ignores the vital role that many carbohydrate-rich foods play in sustaining energy, regulating metabolism, and supporting long-term health. In fact, some of the healthiest populations in the world thrive on high-carbohydrate diets, as long as those carbohydrates come from the right sources. To understand the misunderstood role of carbohydrates, it's important to distinguish between refined and unrefined sources. Refined carbohydrates, such as white bread, pastries, soda, and processed snack foods, have had most of their fiber and nutrients stripped away. These products are quickly digested, leading to rapid spikes in blood sugar and insulin. Over time, excessive consumption of refined carbs can contribute to insulin resistance, fat accumulation, and cravings, particularly when paired with sedentary behavior and high overall calorie intake. These are the types of carbs most commonly associated with obesity and metabolic disease, and rightly so. But this is not the full story. Unrefined carbohydrates, such as whole grains, legumes, fruits, starchy vegetables, and minimally processed oats, behave very differently in the body. These foods contain fiber, resistant starch, antioxidants, and a wide array of micronutrients that slow digestion, blunt blood sugar spikes, feed beneficial gut bacteria, and promote feelings of fullness. In populations where whole, plant-based carbs are dietary staples, such as in Okinawa, the Mediterranean, or rural Africa, rates of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease remain low. These groups don't just tolerate carbs, they thrive on them. The fiber content in whole carbohydrates is especially critical. Fiber adds bulk to food without adding calories, helping people feel fuller longer and reducing the likelihood of overeating. It also plays a key role in regulating digestion and supporting metabolic health by improving insulin sensitivity and feeding the gut microbiome, which in turn influences inflammation, appetite, and even mood. Low-fiber diets, which are common in highly processed food environments, are strongly associated with both weight gain and metabolic dysfunction. There's also an important warning here for those who aggressively restrict carbohydrates in pursuit of rapid weight loss. Very low-carb diets may lead to short-term fat loss, but they can also bring unintended consequences, such as reduced thyroid function, impaired sleep, constipation, fatigue, and nutrient deficiencies. For some individuals, particularly those who are physically active or have higher muscle mass, too few carbs can lead to energy crashes, reduced workout performance, and hormonal imbalance. And for others, carb restriction can create an unhealthy cycle of binge eating, guilt, and metabolic slowdown. The obsession with removing carbs often results in the removal of entire food groups, fruits, legumes, whole grains, that offer critical health benefits. The long-term risks of such exclusion are rarely discussed. For example, whole grains are associated with reduced risk of colorectal cancer, lower LDL cholesterol, and improved long-term weight control. Legumes offer protein, iron, and prebiotics that help regulate appetite and promote lean body mass. And fruits, despite their natural sugar content, are linked with better cardiovascular health and lower overall mortality. These are not foods to be feared. They are foods to be respected and understood in context. What truly matters is the source, quality, and context of carbohydrate intake. When consumed in moderation, alongside healthy fats and proteins, and as part of a minimally processed, whole food diet, carbohydrates support, rather than sabotage, a healthy metabolism. The problem isn't carbs themselves, it's the industrial processing and overconsumption of refined versions that have replaced traditional dietary patterns. Most people don't need to eliminate carbohydrates to lose weight or improve health. They need to eliminate confusion and relearn the value of whole, slow-burning fuel. It's also essential to recognize how cultural and psychological factors have distorted our relationship with carbohydrates. Many people now fear bananas, oats, or potatoes more than processed protein bars, artificially sweetened beverages, or ultra-processed low-carb products loaded with chemical additives. This inversion of priorities is a direct result of oversimplified dietary messaging that elevates macronutrient manipulation above food quality, tradition, or balance. Ultimately, carbohydrates are not the enemy. They are one of the body's primary sources of energy, and when chosen wisely, they enhance rather than hinder metabolic function. Rehabilitating their image starts with education, not on how to fear carbs, but on how to choose them well. The path to better health isn't paved with carb phobia or rigid restriction, but with discernment, moderation, and a deeper understanding of how whole foods nourish the entire system. In the fight against obesity, demonizing a single macronutrient may win headlines, but it rarely wins health.